Before you choose an alternative to resin, it's really important that you understand what the different types of coatings will do. So I wanted to compare them and show you how different each of the coatings are. So I cut these pieces of clay out of Primo Gold and Black. These are all from the same sheet of clay and all baked at the same time, so the clay is identical. And I put a different coating on each one. There's 5 different coatings. So let me go through each one and then compare and explain the differences. First, we have resin. This is a UV resin. There are 2 types of resin. There is a UV resin that cures any UV light or by the sunlight, and there is epoxy resin that cures by mixing together. UV resin dries right away or cures right away, and epoxy resin takes about a day to cure. And resin is thick. It will disguise any of the imperfections on the surface, like little air bubbles or fingerprints or fingernail dings. It will self-level, so it'll cure flat. It'll cure shiny and glossy. A common problem of resin is that it will contract away from the surface as it cures. This particular one didn't. It's pretty good. It doesn't contract from the edges, but it does contract as it cures, causing the piece to bow and curve. So this is problematic. This is a no-name, cheapy resin from Amazon. There are some resins that have brand names that perform a little bit better. A drawback of resin is that when it cures badly, as you can see, this had little air bubbles. When the resin cures badly, there's nothing you can do. You can't get that resin back off. You can sometimes coat it again, but I've had that peel off. So there's a large learning curve and frustration with resin. Also, resin has some health concerns. It is extremely allergenic and can cause allergies in some people. So if you don't want to use resin, here are some ideas. This is varnish. Varnish, like wood varnish. This is varathane triple thick. And varathane is all varnishes, polyurethane varnishes, are a thin layer of plastic. And as you can see, it's not thick. And it will reveal any surface imperfections. So like that little air bubble there. Also, any lint that falls down on your piece will show up. You'll also get brush strokes because although varnish can self-level, it doesn't self-level all that well. So this is varnish. Varnish can also sometimes scratch off. This one's not doing it, but you have to be careful. Also, make sure that you test your varnish before you coat a lot of pieces. You want to make sure that it doesn't turn sticky. Varathane's a good one, but there are some varnishes that turn sticky, and there is an article on my website that goes into more detail about which ones do and which ones don't. So that is varnish. Next is dimensional glaze. This is Mod Podge Dimensional Magic. There are other dimensional glazes as well. They are thick and syrupy, water-based, and they will dry. They take a few days to dry. And when they do, they self-level to an extent, and they look thick. Now, because they look thick, it's easy to assume they're very similar to resin, but as you can see, they don't cure as clear. Dimensional Magic tends to cure slightly cloudy. It's even worse in humid environments. Also, it gives a soft surface, whereas resin, I can hit that pretty hard and I'm not gonna dent that. But this dimensional glaze, I can leave dents in it very easily. It's very soft. It can even, if I press my fingerprint in there, it's that soft. And so therefore I don't recommend it. Also, if you leave dimensional glazed pieces in a drawer, they'll stick together. It'll get sticky. So this is not one I recommend, and that's why. Next is liquid clay. Now, not all liquid clays will do this. Only Kato, Sculpey Clear, because keep in mind Sculpey has 2 different liquid clays. So Sculpey Clear, Kato Liquid Polyclay, and Fimo Liquid will all do this. They will cure clear. You put a thin coating of the liquid clay on your piece, and you can bake it in a hot oven or hit it with a heat gun to cure it. Now this creates a somewhat thick surface, but the heat gun, and you can disguise fingerprints and things like that, but a heat gun is a tricky thing. And if you get it too close to the clay, it will get air bubbles and burn slightly. So there's a steep learning curve on this. If you can make it work, a liquid clay coating is superior to resin. And last is not actually a coating, it's a treatment, and that is sanding and buffing. So this is what it looks like for the same piece of clay to be sanded smooth and then buffed with a buffer. As you can see, it is perfectly shiny, and because I've sanded it, it's perfectly smooth. There are no fingerprints or fingernail dings or bubbles. They're all gone. And this is durable. This is hard. And another nice thing about a sanded and buffed finish is that it feels nice. It's warm, whereas resin can sometimes feel, I don't know, icky. It feels plasticky. This doesn't, even though it is just polymer clay. Polymer clay itself just has a nice feel to it. It feels like you want to, like a worry stone, like you want to rub it. It just feels nice in the hand. So this is a sanded and buffed finish. And yeah, I do have a tutorial that explains how to do this down to the last detail. So sanded and buffed, and that's varnish, and that's resin. That gives you an idea how they compare. And that was liquid clay and dimensional glaze. And that's your comparison. I hope that was helpful.